All right, so I own a Cub Cadet XT2 42-inch lawn tractor. I think this would be the same process for an XT1 42-inch as well. But I want to go over the process that I was able to successfully replace my drive belt. Not the deck belt, but the actual drive belt. There's a lot of videos on how to do the deck belt online, but I didn't see a lot of videos on how to do the drive belt. And I apologize that I did not record while I was doing the work, but I figured out now that I was able to get it done, I'll try my best to go over the process that I use to do it. There's a few videos online, but again, this is going to be the way that I did it, and mostly by myself. I was able to do it all by myself, except for maybe 10 minutes where I did get a couple of friends to come help me, and I'll go over that in a second. This is the front of the tractor. This would be the drive pulley, and I'm going to forewarn you, I'm not a mechanic, so I probably will say the wrong names for different parts, but this is the part that drops down from the motor. This is the transmission fans right here. This is the where the transmission pulley would be. It's not shown in the diagram. So it goes from the drive. There's a idler pulley. I believe this one's the idler pulley, tensioner pulley, and transmission pulley. I may be getting the idler and the tensioner mixed up. But basically what you're going to want to do is below this pulley is the actual big pulley that goes to the deck. And there's a motor shaft that runs from here through here all the way to the motor. So you want to get this belt around over the big pulley, the big drive deck belt pulley, onto the shaft, not onto the pulley, and you will not be able to get it onto the pulley at this point because there's tabs that are blocking your access to it. It was a really thoughtful design, but so just leave it on the shaft, route it through the underneath the underbelly of the tractor. Now I did block up the front end on car blocks to give me about a few, half a foot or so of access underneath it. And the way I did that is I simply lifted it up the front end and had my wife place the blocks underneath the front wheels. It was a lot easier doing that than trying to drive it up on the blocks. But anyway, so then you route it, and you just, at this point, what you're going to want to do is get the belt. Don't worry about the tensioner pulley, just get it routed through here. So you're going to have it just coming in a straight line. And then your next process is going to be to attach it to the transmission pulley. The trick I used is I removed the battery, and that gave me straight access to the transmission. Transmission. It was a little tricky getting this belt onto the pulley, which is actually located under this fan belt, the transmission fan. And the way I did it is I attached this loop to one of these fan blades, and I rotated the fan in a clockwise motion, and it actually pulled that belt up underneath the fan and onto the pulley, kind of like you would a bicycle chain, attaching to a sprocket and then moving the cranks, and it would get onto the sprocket. Same type of deal. Hook it up to a fan blade, spin the fan blade, and it'll drop down below the transmission pulley fan onto the pulley. So at this point, you're going to have the belt going underneath. It's going to be on the actual underneath this pulley. It's not going to be attached yet, all the way back to the transmission pulley. So the next step now is getting the belt onto the actual drive pulley. This is when you call a couple friends over. There are going to be 4 bolts that mount the motor to the frame. Undo those 4 bolts. I think they're 1/2 inch, but don't quote me on that. And you have to really maintain good communication with your friends, because if they were to slip while you're in the process of getting this belt onto the pulley, you could hurt your fingers really bad. So make sure they have a good grip. Make sure you're constantly asking them, you got it, you got it, you got it. Give me 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds, I'm almost there. And if one of them's losing grip or getting worn out, go ahead and get your hands out the way and give them a break. It took me about 10 seconds to get it on here. They're gonna have to lift the motor about 3 inches, and that'll give you enough room to get the belt past those tabs, up above those tabs, onto the pulley. And then once you get it on there, you need to hold that belt tight to give yourself enough room to where they can slowly drop it down and not damage the belt. Make sure you kind of got them from underneath you can hold on to the big pulley and kind of guide them to where you're not actually going to scrape the belt or anything. Because if you damage that belt, you'll be back, right back to this in a few weeks or a few months. And once you get motors back in place, you're scot-free at that point. At that point, you're going to want to reattach the 4 bolts to the motor. Then you're going to get the belt around the tension pulley, and I didn't have to remove anything for this part. I think I did when I originally first ran the belt. I think I did before I even attached the transmission, just to get it through here. I think I did have to remove or just loosen up a bolt here using 2 wrenches. I think they were 7/16, but again, don't quote me on that. But one to hold the nut and one to loosen the bolt. I think I had to use 2. It really wasn't a big deal. It only took me a few minutes. And that, so if you're under there, you might notice that you have to loosen a bolt up here. But then once you get, once you get this belt back onto the drive pulley, go ahead and route it and get it on the tensioner. Put the motor back on, put your battery back in place, and then reattach your deck. And I think you're good to go at that point. I hope I didn't miss anything. I think that was pretty much it. But again, it's really a one-person job up until the point where you need to lift that motor up to get the belt onto the drive pulley. So just hopefully this helps somebody. I wish I would have seen a video like this before I started. This is again front of the machine here, rear of the machine. Remove the battery, remove the deck. Put the machine up on the front wheels on some blocks. You don't have to, but it will help. Route the belt. Keep this part of the belt on the motor shaft below the drive pulley, so it'll be between the big deck pulley and the drive pulley. Attach it to the transmission pulley using that little fan trick I taught you. Get friends to lift the motor, attach it here, and then lastly attach it to the idler pulley, or the maybe I think that's the tension pulley. This part of the belt will be the V end going into this pulley, and then it's going to be the flat end on this pulley. V end into this pulley, V end of the belt going around the transmission pulley. So I hope this helps. Good luck.